What if the pain many of us accept as part of aging is actually something we can fix? That is what we will be talking about today. Welcome to ReBloom, the podcast about reinvention, second chances, and rising into the next chapter of your life. I'm your host, Vanessa Bright, entrepreneur, environmental leader, and someone who believes it's never too late to grow into what or who you're meant to be. If you're rebuilding, rediscovering, or reclaiming your power, you're in the right place. Let's begin.
Hello, ReBloomers. Today I am here with Jennifer Balducci. Jennifer is the owner of One. One is a center for physical therapy, fitness, and wellness. I first met Jennifer when I joined SOFO. SOFO is the South Forest Drive Business Association in Annapolis, Maryland. One of the other members in the association told me how much Jennifer had done to help her with her back. And at the time, I was having problems with knee pain, so I thought I would give Jen a try. Now, I was amazed at the results, not because I didn't trust Jennifer, but because the things that she suggested to me seemed to have nothing to do with my needs. And she'll explain that to you a little more later. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to sit down with us.
Sure.
And first, I'd like you to tell our listeners, what was your journey like to become a physical therapist?
Yep.
And to then open your own wellness center?
So thank you, Vanessa, for hosting me today. And I'm super happy to be here. My journey is actually a pretty long one. I have been doing this forever. I've been a physical therapist for close to 30 years now. And back then, in the olden days, you only needed a master's degree. Now, the current graduate, they have to have doctorate degrees. So back then, I only had to have a master's, and I knew that I wanted to be a physical therapist. Actually, since high school, when I was injured, had to go through physical therapy, said that you get paid to do this job. This is amazing. Sign me up. So got into a physical therapy program, and that program was a 5-year master program. So at the young age of 23, I was able to start treating patients. And so I've been doing it now for 30 years. I'll be 53 in a couple of weeks. So amazing that, for the profession has been everything for me, and I would never change any of it. And it's been an incredible journey.
So what led you to open your own facility?
Yeah, so I did traditional healthcare, worked in traditional healthcare settings for, close to almost 20 years. We've been open here now for, this is the start of our 13th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And over that period of time of being in a traditional healthcare setting, I just saw where the gaps were. So where we were kind of, I would say, not really completing the mission for our clientele, for our patients. So in traditional physical therapy, you see a patient for a period of time, and then, after either their insurance company cuts them off, or you're not seeing continued progress, you discharge your patient. And I always thought that was crazy. Why would you discharge somebody from your care? Just because they have recovered from an injury, or maybe they haven't completely recovered to where they want to be, you're told often by insurance companies that you have to stop care, and that person is not where they want to be. So why aren't we continuing? Why isn't there a continuum of care? Every other healthcare profession, nobody discharges their patients. So your dentist doesn't discharge you, your doctor doesn't discharge you, a chiropractor doesn't discharge you. Massage therapists don't discharge you. Right. Nobody discharges their patients except for physical therapists. And I said, this is crazy. So I actually started having private clients. So after we finished traditional physical therapy, I would continue to work with them, continue to get them stronger, get them to where they wanted to be in a safe way. Because that was the other thing. I was sending people all over town for different services to try to keep them well. And I was like, this is crazy. Why don't we just keep people in the same place and continue to help them on their journey?
So I'm sure our audience can see the passion that you have for the job. And I understand passion because that's how I feel about the job that I have. But I'm wondering.
We have that in common.
Yeah, I'm curious
I
about.
met Vanessa and I was like, she's my kind of people. I totally get her.
But I'm curious. It's been 30 years or almost 30 years. What keeps that passion in you? Is it
that's a great
particular
question.
clients or something that you experience on a regular basis when you're working with your clients?
All the above. So I love the aha moments for people and connecting the dots for them. So somebody who might have struggled for a very long time and has been bouncing around to a lot of different providers, maybe spinning their wheels and not feeling like they're really seen as a whole person. They're just getting treated for individual things instead of looking at the big picture. So my superpower is to step back and to try to look at root causes of things. And by doing that, I feel like I'm able to empower people to really make big changes in their health and how they feel. So that's one of the things that keeps me going. Just when I give people that had no idea things like what the connections are. Right. And if you do this little thing, this is going to make you better. And this is the reason why. So I'm really big into the education piece, teaching people how to fix themselves. And, then they almost become like, disciples for what I've taught them. They go out and they tell 10 more people who now we've really done the ripple effect, which is amazing. And that's what it's all about.
And that's one of the things I loved about our experience or my experience coming to you was that you teaching people how to take control of their own bodies.
Yep.
And so we're going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about pain and how pain is treated. So a lot of times people associate pain with age. We're both in our 50s. Yep. And even doctors will default to that. Yes. So I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago because I had pain in my ear. Now people are wondering pain in your ear, but I wasn't sure if it was in my ear or my tooth. So I went to the ENT and I also went to the dentist.
Sure.
And what irritated me about the dentist was he's like, well, how old are you? Because he didn't find anything.
I hate that question.
And then he's like, how old are you? And then he started talking about some nerve just because of age. I'm like, but it's pain. Doesn't that mean something is wrong? So what are your thoughts about that?
So I hate when people say, well, you're this age, so, you're going to have pain or you're going to have dysfunction or disability. Yeah, I mean, the longer we're on the planet, things do break down, but that doesn't mean that you're doomed to a life of pain. Really, it just means that, listen, maybe you have to pay better attention to how you care for yourself, or maybe you have to do a little bit more work to get you to a better place versus just chalking it up. Oh, well, I'm this age, so I'm just stuck with this new problem. Not always, you know, there are lots of things that we can do. And I always tell people, the human body wants to heal itself. If you give it an environment to heal itself, it will heal itself. That's what I like to tell people.
So I came to you for the knee, and you were talking to me about the way I tilted my pelvis. Now, I didn't see any connection there, but I'm going to let Jen explain the connection. And in addition to that, when we go for long periods of time, tilting our pelvis, whether we're sitting or walking in the incorrect way, what effects does it have on our body?
Sure. So again, this gets back to kind of root causes of things. And often, people will come in to see me and they'll complain of hip pain or knee pain or foot pain. And I am always going to look at your spine first, because I'm a true believer that a lot of things happen actually from your spine. So, the nerves that exit from your lower back control the strength in your legs. So if you have nerve compression in your spine, it's going to affect the signal that's being sent to the muscles in your lower extremities, in your legs. Your muscles are your shock absorbers. If you shut off your shock absorbers in your car, you're going to feel every bump. You're going to get all of that impact, and there's no shock absorption. You're going to feel it's going to be a terrible ride. It's the same thing for our bodies. If the signal isn't getting to our muscles, the muscles are not getting that signal, they're not doing their job, and then you're just banging away at your joints, and then you get pain and dysfunction. And your body can put up with a lot. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you just wake up one day and all of a sudden, oh no, the signal is not going to my legs. It's
Right.
usually over a long period of time doing the wrong thing repeatedly over and over and over again. And then eventually you get to the point where you're actually sensing pain and your brain is saying, uh-oh, there's a problem. I got to come fix it. So,
okay,
if that answers that question.
it does.
Yeah.
And so many of our listeners, including myself, we sit for long periods of
Yep.
time. We, whether it's, at our desks, on our computers, in our cars,
Right. Everywhere.
on the couch. And some of the recommendations you gave me were the lumbar spine pillow, which I
Yep.
have one in my car, I have one in my office, and I have one in my desk chair.
And you're using one right now.
And I'm using one right now because I wanted to make sure that my posture was great since I'm meeting with the posture specialist. So, with given that, what are some suggestions that you would make for people to offset that damage?
So for sure, movement is medicine. You hear that a lot, but it really is true. You also will hear now people are talking a lot more about how sitting is the new smoking, and all the terrible things that can go wrong with your body with prolonged sitting. I don't know, Vanessa, if I gave you the poster, the sitting poster.
You did.
But you could share that, with your listeners and really just spreading the word about that, because it talks about all the different systems in your body that are affected by prolonged sitting. But essentially, when you sit for long periods of time, and a long period of time is anything more than 10 to 30 minutes. Really, we should be changing postures or changing positions within that time frame. So 5 minutes, no big deal, up to about 10 minutes. But then when you get after 10 to 30 minutes, it's really time to switch positions depending on your pain level. So if you're somebody who has a lot of pain and you really can't tolerate positioning, 10 minutes max. If you're somebody who's a little bit more tolerant and don't have as many issues, 30 minutes, you should at least stand up and then sit down again. So you don't want to feel like you have to necessarily get up and run a marathon, but it's just about changing positions for sure.
Yeah, when I'm in the office, I try to force myself to get up and go ask one of my team members something or go check on
water,
something. Yeah.
Go to the bathroom, stand at the wall, check in with your posture, anything that's a cue. I have clients that will set like a timer on their computer or on their phone, and every so often it just reminds them they've got to get out of that position.
But you do have to be intentional about it because I don't know if everybody's like me, but once I'm working on something, it's hard to
you
stop
just want to get it done.
Yeah, and switch that. And I'm a big check off the list person, so I'm super focused on
totally
what I'm doing.
Yep.
So, do you have any suggestions for women of a certain age, like over 40 and 50, things that we can do in particular to help our muscles, our postures, anything kind of specific to us?
I mean, well, I don't know if it's specific to that age, but if you are listening to this podcast, the one thing that I'm going to tell everybody for the rest of your lives that you should do on the regular is to get on a foam roller.
I have one. I do it every morning. I get on the foam
It's
roller.
A game changer. And so if you don't know what a foam roller is, you're going to know by the end of this podcast. And literally, you don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but just a few minutes every day, it's life-changing. And especially if you're doing it correctly. So we'll probably go through a few things that you can do on a foam roller. And if you don't have one, you're going to want to get one. And also, you don't have to go out and buy one, even just rolling up a yoga mat and using that as a prop, or if you don't have a yoga mat, a beach towel, just something that changes kind of the position of your spine. So, and we'll demonstrate that later.
Yeah, and it's actually not so bad. Initially, when she told me to do that, I did not want to get on a foam roller, but I actually enjoy it now, especially the roll.
Right.
And we will show you later.
Yeah.
What about stretching? So, is stretching as important, or is it more about building your strength, as you hear a lot about strength training, or is it alignment, or is it, you told me, you suggested I go back to Pilates because I needed to build and work on my core. So is there one that's better than the other, or we just need to be doing everything?
I mean, I think everything is important to some extent. So I think people get into trouble when they only focus on one aspect, right? Like, I think that's everything in life.
Right.
It's all about balance
Right.
and everything in moderation.
True.
And so, stretching is important, strengthening is important, your posture is important, how frequently you move, alignment, all of those things are important. But that being said, more is not more, right? So I have some people that feel very tight. They're like, oh, I feel so tight all the time, but it may actually not be tight muscles. It might be fascial restrictions that you have. So we have fascia that runs through our whole body. And oftentimes that fascia can stop gliding and sliding like it should. And then that'll feel like tissue tightness. And we'll say, oh, I feel so, my neck feels so tight. And so you'll see people doing like crazy stretches, trying to like loosen things up, where in actuality, it might just be the fascia itself that's not gliding and sliding anymore. And you have to do specific things to help restore that normal movement of the fascia. And that's different than stretching. So being on a foam roller actually does help to restore normal glide and slide of your fascia. So that's one of the other benefits of being on a foam roller.
All right. So you mentioned fascia, and I'm not a medical person, but I saw in your bio that you're hypermobile.
Correct.
And so recently I met someone that was hypermobile, and I didn't know it was a thing. She demonstrated, what that meant, because I asked her to do that. She was actually making a presentation. But the demonstration to me looked like what do you call the people that can
a contortionist.
Contortionist, the contortionist. And I was like, I thought that was a good thing. And then she really explained the problems with that. And so she's actually working on she's a Pilates instructor. She's working on creating a certification for Pilates instructors. And so could you talk about that a little bit, about being hypermobile and the negative side of being hypermobile?
So what the layperson doesn't realize is that hypermobility, it's an actual connective tissue disorder. And so you're born with it. It's genetic. It's not something you, that you catch. You either have it or you don't have it. But the problem is that basically it's faulty collagen. And what that means is that your collagen in every part of your body, every tissue that we have is made up of collagen. So all of it is a little bit more fragile than the average bear. So it does make us more stretchy and more flexible, but it also affects every system in your body. So your blood vessels can be more fragile and be overly like they don't contract or they don't constrict like they're supposed to retain heat. They can just be dilated all the time. It can affect your digestive system. So your GI tract is always kind of not really doing its job, and the food will move slowly through your body. So you get gastroparesis, which is not a good thing for any of us long term. So you want food to be moving through your body on a regular basis. So there's so many things that can be affected because of that faulty collagen. So people that are either have the condition or that are well-versed and know how to treat it, they're going to respect the collagen, and they're going to teach you ways that you can kind of help yourself to maximize your body's function or lack thereof.
But isn't it something that's misdiagnosed, or people don't realize that's the issue?
All the time.
So what should someone do if they think they might fall into that category, or whom should they seek out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are some medical providers that are very knowledgeable about connective tissue disorders, and they're harder to find. My biggest recommendation, if you suspect that you have a connective tissue disorder, go to the EDS. That's E as in egg, D as in dog, S as in Sam, Society's website, and check out, they have a list of providers, and you can look at it by state, and you can find a doctor that can diagnose you, or physical therapist that would be able to help guide you on your journey.
All right. Yeah. So before we get into the demonstrations, just got a few more questions. One, what is one daily habit that would prevent a lot of people from pain?
Getting on your foam roller.
Okay.
And not sitting for prolonged periods of time. Okay. I would say those are my two biggest. And when I hate to keep going back to the foam roller, but it is kind of like brushing your teeth, right? I think that's something that I told Vanessa. You go to the dentist and he's like, make sure you brush your teeth every day.
And floss.
And floss so you don't get cavities. It's the same thing for a foam roller. You should get on the foam roller every day so you don't have pain, basically.
Okay. What is a myth about back pain or posture you wish people would stop bleeding or spreading?
I think a myth is that somebody has to fix you if you have back pain. So, like a lot of times we're under the impression that like we have to go to somebody in order to, make their pain go away. But a lot of times you can make small changes if you're given that information that can have a huge impact. So my one recommendation is, obviously everybody's different. And if this is an acute injury or something that happens that comes on suddenly, oftentimes the pain will go away suddenly, especially if you're doing just small changes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Any small changes in particular?
Yeah. So what I would say, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is that they sit in what we call like a C curve or a rounded flat back. So the minute we sit in a chair, oftentimes we kind of conform to the chair. We kind of get into that C curve position. Bendy people are the worst. So you'll oftentimes see them with their knees up to their chests or their legs crossed, and none of that is a good thing for a long period of time. So we have 3 curves in our spine. You have an inward curve in your neck, a little outward curve in your mid back, and then a little inward curve in your low back. And we want to maintain those curves. And that's what lumbar support will do for you.
Okay.
I have Vanessa using it along the length of her spine instead of across the lower part of her back, because it kind of opens up the whole torso. So you're not just like arching over something, but maintaining those curves and keeping that upright is one of the easiest ways to, prevent pain from occurring. So it's being in those prolonged kind of loaded positions for long periods of time that get us into trouble.
And I've noticed that since I've been using it, when I don't have it, I still maintain that correct position.
Right. Yeah.
All right, ReBloomers. So now we're going to go and Jen is going to demonstrate some techniques, and she is going to demonstrate them on me. So keep watching.
All right, so we're going to demonstrate with Vanessa what I kind of worked on with her and what made such a big difference for her. So everybody stands in a little bit of a different position or alignment. And I usually go through with clients, what is optimal alignment, or what should you be trying to think about when you're standing? But I love just standing against the wall and kind of checking in with the position of your body, because I feel like that can be a very powerful way to see, how am I supposed to be standing? How am I supposed to hold my body? And what am I supposed to be feeling? Because a lot of times you just don't have a good awareness of that. So using the wall as those tactile points can be really helpful. So standing at the wall with your heels back against the wall, your butt back against the wall, and then your head back against the wall. And then in addition to that, you want to soften your knees. So you don't want to lock out your knees, you just want to soften them. And then the last cue that I love to give people is to try to make the space behind your low back go away. So you're actually trying to flatten your small of your back into the wall. It won't go completely away because we don't want you to round out your back, obviously, but really just thinking about the position of your pelvis so that it's not tipped forward like a soup bowl or a bucket. You don't want to spill the contents out of your soup bowl or your pelvis, right? So we want to keep that bucket level, and we're trying to keep the back flat against the wall. And so Vanessa is doing a really great job. We just have to get her head back a little bit further and her chin slightly tucked down so she's not looking up at the ceiling. And it's always a work in progress. And then once you have that position, you got to maintain it. So when you step away from the wall, you actually still have that same position. Nice work.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. So I just wanted to show you what a foam roller can look like. They do come in lots of different sizes, shapes. So some are a little bit firmer. This is a less firm, has a little bit more give to it. Some are a larger diameter, some are cut in half, so they're not quite as unstable, and some have like nubs and they're really pretty, they look pretty scary. But this is a nice kind of basic one to get started with. They are 36 inches in length, so if you are ordering it online, you don't want to get a short one. You want to make sure that you get one that's at least 36 inches. and that way you can lay on it. You're going to put your whole spine on the roller, and it actually doesn't matter how tall you are, whether you're 6'3" or if you're 5'2", this length is adequate for everybody to get on. So you're going to put it on the floor. And then getting on the roller, you basically want to roll onto your side and roll, have this foam roller along the length of your spine so that your head and your bottom are in alignment with it. And then you're just gonna lift your body up onto it. Once you're on it, super important, 2 things. You wanna gently tuck your chin down so you're lengthening the back of your neck along the roller. And then you want to flatten your low back against the roller. So what you don't want is you don't want your back arched and your chin up. So chin is down and your back is flat. And once you do that, now you've lengthened your spine. Essentially, it's kind of like if you had a pearl necklace and it was all jumbled together and you don't have much space between each pearl. If you take each end of that pearl necklace and lengthen it, then you have more space between each one of those pearls. So that's how you want to think about your spine. When you tuck your chin and you flatten your back, you now created more space between each vertebrae. And that is super important for preventing pain and for getting your function in your legs and your arms to be as good as possible. Once you're there, there's lots of stuff that you can do on the roller, but a few basic things. One is a pec stretch where you're just laying your arms out to the sides, palms up towards the ceiling, hanging out in that position for about a minute. Then there's also something called a goalpost stretch, just like the football goalposts at the end of your end zones, and just trying to drop your hands back towards the floor. Again, just making sure that you stay lengthened along the roller, making sure that you breathe while you're on the roller. In and out through your nose is extra credit for everybody. Then you can also work on some abdominal strengthening and neuromuscular control while you're on the roller. So super extra credit for people. If you can cross your hands across your chest and lift a foot and not fall off the roller, you're doing really great. And you oftentimes will find that one side is easier or harder than the other. So for me, obviously lifting my right leg is a little bit tougher for me. But everybody's different, and you may not be able to do that, and you might have to have your hands on the ground in order to lift your legs. Also, just rolling from side to side on the roller, this is the thing that Vanessa loves. So when you're on the roller, rolling from side to side, keeping your pelvis parallel with the floor, that helps to restore some normal glide and slide to your fascia. It also helps to bring blood flow to the areas along your spine that might be tight or have some muscle spasm. So all of these things together really help to make you feel better. And then after you've been on the roller for a while, you'll roll over onto your side to dismount, lay flat on your back, and recheck in with your body. And what you'll often find is that you're a lot closer to the floor. You'll feel more relaxed, you'll feel more grounded, and hopefully less pain.
Thank you for spending this time with me on ReBloom. If this conversation spoke to you, share it with someone else who might be ready for their next chapter. And remember, reinvention doesn't mean starting over, it means starting wiser. Until next time, keep growing, keep rising, and keep blooming.